three ways British and American winters are very different. We're coming into winter right now, so I'm excited to check out this video. That's different between the UK and the USA with the winters. Let's jump straight into this and check this out.
Well now, I can't quite remember, but it's very possible that I've talked about British and American winters before. But when I talk about American winters, I very often focus on those of the Midwest because that's where I live. But I was reading the other day that America has places outside of Illinois. And in that moment, it occurred to me that the winters that I endure here in Chicago are not, in fact, the reality for millions of Americans. This is a massive country. How big? About the size of 40 UKs. And so, of course, it's a massive country.
You know what?
How big? About the...
That is actually crazy. Being in the UK, right, I kind of think like, I know the UK is small, but it don't seem small when you're there. Obviously, it don't seem tiny, right? Even though it is. Looking at this, mad, bro. Actually crazy. And you know what's mental as well? Is like, I lived here, my family lived here, right? And this is a long distance drive for me. So like 3-hour drive from here to here. And bro, that's just like state to state for you guys. That's actually crazy, man.
Size of 40 UKs. And so, of course, it stands to reason that with all of that latitude, there's just going to be a greater variety of winter weather across the entire country.
Of course.
And because I may have given a false impression to my British viewers that the whole of America is one big tundra, I wanted to look at that variety and how it compares with Britain.
Right.
You know, I've lived in the north of England, I've lived in the south of England, I've lived in Indiana, and I've lived in Illinois. And in each of those cases, there's a favourite pastime among the people at the very moment that we change the clocks ahead of the looming winter. And that's when people say, "Ooh, I can't believe how early it gets dark these days." That was my best impression of a Hoosier. And something I've learned between living in all of those places is that it all comes down to perspective. What do I mean by that? Well, everybody is saying the same thing, and yet from place to place there are wild differences in when the sun actually sets.
Right.
To see what I mean by this, let's take a look at the shortest day of last year, December 21st. On December 21st, the Orkney Islands off the north coast of Scotland experienced a sunset at Austin 3:16 p.m. But even for me growing up in England, that's extreme. As far as the United Kingdom goes, the Orkney Islands...
Wait, and that's in Scotland? Wait, what's going on up there, man? That's not too far.
...are far north. But even so, in my hometown of Grimsby, it would get dark about 40 minutes earlier than it does here in Chicago.
Right, yeah,
and then,
same.
of course, you have the east to west...
You know what? I suppose it kind of, like, in the winter, I'd say when it gets, like, peak darkness, I'd say in the UK, sometimes it can get dark. I'm not too sure about 5. I want to say 5 it starts to get dark, and then like 6.
Difference.
PM,
so for example,
obviously.
in the southwest of Britain, the sun sets about half an hour later than it does in Dover in the southeast. Luckily, that kind of thing is relatively easy to follow in Britain because it's all on one time zone. The United States, meanwhile, operates on 6. And this has been very confusing for me because I've lived at the eastern side of the central time zone and the western side of the eastern time zone. And so on December 21st in Chicago, the sun completely set at 4:23. But in Indianapolis, where I previously lived, it set at 5:23. And you might be thinking, well, that makes sense. For every time zone from west to east, you add on an hour.
Oh, maybe in the UK it does get early dark. You know what? Next time we're coming up to the winter now, and I'm gonna see like how soon quick it gets dark. So I'm pretty sure thinking 5 to 6. I can't ever remember like it being 4 p.m. and it being dark. But then again, I'm always inside, so I'm a bad person to tell you when it gets dark. I ain't gonna lie.
But when it comes to sunsets and science, it's not that easy. If it was, Philadelphia wouldn't have got dark at 4:39. And this can be found across 6 different time zones. So if you're the sort of person who's looking to move to America, but you hate it when it gets dark early, pro tip, move to the westernmost point of any time zone. Of course, there are major caveats to that. If you're one of the millions of people...
Wait, I just thought, you know on this graph where it's got the different time zones? I don't want to go too far back, but you remember the graph just in this video where it's got like the 4 different time zones in America? What if you're literally on the edge of the time zone, right? And your time zone's ahead. So let's say, wouldn't it be like extremely early for you and gets dark? Because then when you go into the other time zone, which is like, you know, a mile or whatever, right? That'll be late on getting dark. Yeah, it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it made sense when I just said it. I have no clue.
People who's got your heart set on the tropical paradise that is Barrow, Alaska, you might be interested to learn about its December 21st sunset. It didn't have one. The town has been enveloped in darkness since my birthday. That was 2 months ago. Of course, much of Alaska is also an incredibly cold place, but not everywhere can say the same thing. You know, when I was younger, I couldn't really imagine saying this, but I sort of miss British winters. By Chicago standards, they're not that bad. So let's take the month of January as our example. Some of the lowest temperature averages you'll find in Britain are in the Scottish Highlands.
Right.
And in the Scottish Highlands, in the month of January, it probably averages about -1 degree Celsius. For completists and my American audience, that's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, as with all of these averages, it can be colder or warmer on given days.
Yeah, -1's cold.
January average. Down in Cornwall, in the southwest of England, you're looking at about 43 degrees Fahrenheit. And so in January, Britain, on the whole, averages between those two numbers. But in America, just like the land itself, those temperature ranges are so much bigger. So in Chicago, the January average is about 25 degrees, and for my British viewers, that's roughly -4 Celsius. And Chicago, cold though it is by no means the coldest place in the US. In Minneapolis, they average about 12 degrees, which is -11 Celsius.
Mad.
In Bismarck, North Dakota, it's 9 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly -13 degrees Celsius.
Mad.
And then this one is just stupid.
It gets colder?
In Fairbanks, Alaska, the average in January is -11 degrees Fahrenheit. Or -24 Celsius.
Crazy.
And those are the places.
Bro, how are they not freezing to death? Bro, how are they not walking around as big ice cubes? Bro, what?
11 degrees Fahrenheit. Or -24 Celsius.
That's mad.
And those are the places, as I like to say, that are unfit for humans. But what if I told you there were parts of America that require not thick, heavy coats and stupid winter hats, but just a jumper and or sweater? And some pants of some kind. I'm not suggesting people walk around in their underwear.
Nice.
Well, this is the reality in parts of Southern California, Southwest Arizona, South Texas and New Orleans. And in all of those places, I imagine there are times when people can get away with just wearing a t-shirt. And again, pants as well. And in my...
Bro, it's actually mental to fit like how big America is. When you think like at the same day, on the same day, it could be winter, Christmas, whatever day is the coldest. In the north part of America can also be quite a warm day or not, you know what I mean? Like warmish day in the south. That's mad.
Miami, I almost guarantee it because
like in the UK, if it's a cold day, it's a cold day everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
There they average January temperatures of 69 degrees. And to be clear,
where was that?
Because there they average t-shirt and again pants as well. And in Miami, I almost guarantee it because there they average January temperatures of 69 degrees. And to be clear, that is in Fahrenheit. Otherwise, it would look like the beginning of Terminator 2. In Celsius, that's over 20 degrees.
That's
in
still
January,
warm.
As an average.
It's hot in
so
UK.
Sometimes it'll go above that and people presumably head to the beaches. And while I'm on the verge of getting envious, I just then remember I don't like people. So the winter beaches here in Chicago are more my style. I don't have style. And crazily, that's not even the warmest average. In Honolulu, you're looking at 73 degrees.
Wow.
So where might you find British
on a winter day
temperatures? Well, as ever, you're likely to encounter those in the coastal areas of the Pacific Northwest, but also in a vast part of the country that's sort of south of the Midwest, but north of the Deep South. Basically, the northern south. That made way more sense in my head. In other words, if you're looking for those same temperature ranges that we saw with the Scottish Highlands and Cornwall, then a decent comparison would be New York City, where it's 32 degrees, down to Atlanta, where it's 43. Oh, and speaking of Atlanta, that brings us on to...
I just heard his cat like meowing in the background.
this. One of the most prominent features of winter, of course, is snow. And you might be thinking, what relationship does Atlanta have?
The best part of winter. Like, a very, very cold day is quite, like, you know what I mean? Like, annoying. It's really cold. You gotta get warm and stuff. But snow is like, bro, the crunch of the snow is satisfying. Yeah, that's about... The look of the snow. The look and the crunch of the snow is satisfying. But the rest is like... I just really like Christmas and stuff, so...
With snow. More on that in a minute. But Britain, where I'm from, does get snow. Usually, and disappointingly, not quite enough snow to make a snowman. Though there have definitely been exceptions. Disappointing in a minute. But Britain, where I'm from, does get snow. Usually, and disappointingly, not quite enough snow to make a snowman.
Yeah, we've kind of been slack in the recent years, I ain't gonna lie. But when I was a kid, we definitely had enough snow to make snowmans and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, like, I've not really noticed. You might get the odd day or so where it's a lot of snow, the odd week, but yeah, it's not crazy. It's not crazy anymore. I can remember being a kid and it'd be a lot of snowball fights, with snowmen and stuff like that. But no, I can't really recall like going outside now and be like, whoa, this is loads.
Though there have definitely been exceptions over the years, especially in Scotland, where they see more than the UK average. But for the most part, it doesn't often get bad enough that you'll see somebody wearing this. Of course, in Chicago, where it's snowed in fact today, it's absolutely crucial. But there are some places in the US, including upstate New York, that get even more snow than Chicago. And don't just take my word for it. Here's me from 2 years ago. But funnily enough, New York City and just sort of downstate New York in general doesn't actually get snow on the level that you see in the rest of the northeast of the United States that we touched on here in this very video. The heavy load is actually carried by upstate New York. It gets a ton of snow, and it's all down to lake effect weather. So the likes of Buffalo and Rochester, they get nearly 100 inches of snow. That is mental, but it's not as mental as the city of Syracuse, which gets 123.8 inches a year on average. That's mental. It's also, for that reason, the snowiest city in the lower 48 of the United States. And I know what you're thinking, how dare you, sir, accuse Syracuse of being the worst? You didn't think that. I just like wordplay. Indeed, in that video where inexplicably I speak really fast and with a posher accent, I cover 6 other states that get way more snow than Britain. I'll link to that one at the end. But once you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, snow becomes more of a rarity. So Atlanta, which doesn't typically see a lot of snow and because of that isn't as prepared for it as, say, Chicago, closed schools and declared a state of emergency amid 4 inches of snow and temperatures that were in the 20s. Remember, temperatures like that are extremely low for Atlanta, which in January on average is...
Do you know what's mental? You know, like when I was younger, this might blow some of you guys away now. When I was younger, I actually thought America didn't get snow. I actually thought that. And I don't know why, but I remember thinking, like now when I think about it, when I was a kid, I was like on a snow day and stuff. Whenever I thought about America, I thought America was just like a warm place. I never thought America got snow. And I think, because I can remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh no, yeah, I'm kind of glad that I live in the UK. Because I really enjoyed like the snow days when I was a kid, making snowball fights and snowmen and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like, oh, that's my alarm. But I remember thinking, like, when I watched the movies and stuff, well, I don't know why I actually thought America didn't have snow, because I watched Home Alone and that had snow. Yeah, maybe, I was just a dumb kid. Never mind.
It's about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than Chicago, but it ain't got nothing on Miami, where snow is incredibly rare. Miami has issued 0 reports of snow flurries.
I think it's because also in like movies and stuff, you see like these hot places in America, and when you're a kid, you don't realize how big America was. So me being a kid, I probably thought when I did see snow in America, it was like just fake or something. I don't know, but I just remember being a kid and thinking, yeah, America didn't get snow.
Since 1977. Star Wars hadn't come out yet, Charlie Chaplin was still alive, and John Cena wasn't yet. Other honourable mentions among the low snow brigade include the Deep South, Southwest Arizona, and the West Coast. Other than that, America is pretty snowy, so wrap up warm and get yourself a shovel. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below your winter weather. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at...
You know what? I like the winter, especially for like someone that's a gamer like me. So a gamer, you know, streamer, YouTuber, whatever. I stay indoors a lot, right? And I like to wear hoodies. So I'd rather be dressed like this right now and keep myself warm than be sweating. Right, because I can't really record videos and game and stuff. Well, I can game naked, but most of the time I'm on camera, so it's probably not a good idea. But yeah, I kind of prefer the winter. I'm not gonna lie. But really good video. Enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys enjoy, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. If you guys want to check me out over there, even live right now as recording this. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.